Now, after you plan, let me share with you what potential employers are like. People read my books and they listen to the online program and they go, wow, you're the only guy that ever wrote one of these books on how to find a job that ever said this. Yeah, because I sit in the trenches and I've been there since 1973. Look, there are 7.5 million businesses in the United States. 98% of the people in business are less than 100 people. They are not people. They focus on what they do rather than on who does it. They think if they do what they do well, they will run a successful business. They are ambitious, greedy, selfish, lazy, impatient, vain, and ignorant, just like most of us. And they're seeking safety, security, comfort, love, respect, and fulfillment, just like most of us. They do not have a real system of doing business. They operate by the seat of their pants mentality. They don't care about you unless you're going to help them in their business. And for the most part, they are messy, unorganized, scared, surviving just the moment, squeezing everything they can out of themselves and the people that work for them, waiting for the economy to turn around. They are what Teilhard de Chardin said, spiritual beings acting human. And if looking for a job is the fourth most emotional thing that people do, hiring people is the fifth. And they go, it is with great uncertainty, doubt, and fear. It is very difficult to hire people. They are just as afraid as you are about making a mistake. If you get this point, 98% of the stress that you get in looking for a job will be alleviated. Now, there are four major questions that are going to be asked in the interviewing situation. We're going to get to these in detail in a few minutes. I wrote a whole book on 450 of the most difficult questions and answers you're going to get in the interviewing situation. But basically, they come down to these four. Can you do the job? Do we like you? Are you a risk? And can we work the money out? Now, the easiest one of all of these, number 4, can we work the money out? I guarantee you, if the other 3 are answered, the 4th one takes care of itself. And, as I tell candidates all the time, if it doesn't, don't worry about it. We'll move on to the next one if we can. Can you do the job? We get calls every day. Tony, I saw your one of those jobs on your website. I can do that job. There is a difference between being able to do the job and get the job. We don't know that. We see it as, well, I can do that. Look, let me share this with you. I'd make the best president of the United States this country has ever seen. I can do that job. Just let me at it. I'm not going to get it because I don't have anything in my background that proves that I can. And I'm competing with 400,000 other yahoos that have a better track record in that. And in a market like this, most of the time, employers are going to gravitate towards somebody that can do my job because they've done it before. We hear it every day. I can do that job. I can do that job. Yes, if you get the chance, but there is a difference. Do we like you? This accounts for the majority of the hiring decision. People have to be likable and affable. I have never, since I've been doing this since 1973, seen a situation where a candidate was the most qualified, but people didn't like him that he got hired. He or she got hired. You got to end up being likable. Are you a risk? I've never interviewed a candidate that thought they were a risk. But every one of us has some risks, and you need to know what they are. What do I mean by risk? An employer is looking at you, and they are thinking, how is this person not going to work out? If you've been out of work for a year, you've had 4 jobs in 3 years, you've been the president of your own company, you've been at your last job too short a time, you've been at your last job too long. You've got risks, and you need to know what they are, because you need to augment those risks when you go in to do the interview. And then, of course, can we work the money out? We'll come back to those in a minute. Now, you need to expect lies. They're going to say, we love you. We think you're going to be great. We would love to hire you. You're exactly what we're looking for. We're going to call you tomorrow. We're probably going to offer you the job, and then you never hear from them. And you go, well, how could they lie like that? Well, here's why. One way of dealing with it is don't judge these people by what they tell you. Judge them by their actions. If they tell you they're going to call you back, you think, yeah, that sounds great to me, but wait and see. People lack authority when they go to interview. I had a candidate last week. The vice president of sales said to him, you're perfect, you're exactly what I want, you're exactly the kind of person I need to hire, no problem. By the way, you need to talk to the CEO, but it's simply a rubber stamp interview, no big deal. I'm going to hire you. CEO didn't like the candidate, he didn't get the job. The hiring authority really wasn't, and you need to expect it. Politics in a company. You've got one group and another group and 3 or 4 different groups, and they're all seeing things in a different way. You might wind up being the pawn between those groups. Situational interviewing. You've got one group of people or one individual that's interviewing you for one kind of position, and they see it one way, and then another person involved in the interviewing situation sees it another, and you need to be prepared. Hiring is not a priority. I guess that was one of the hardest things for me to get used to since 1973. What are they going to sit there in front of you and say, thanks for taking half a day to come over here, but you know, hiring is about number 22 on our list. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, oh, hiring is a priority. We should have hired somebody like you a month ago. We really need to do this. We need to get on with it. And then it turns out when you leave that it isn't a priority anymore. These things change sometimes by the heartbeat. One guy's passing another guy in the hall. Well, you know, we got a budgetary problem with that, so we're not going to fill that job. I says, I've been interviewing for a month. Yeah, but stop interviewing, pick it up again in another month. Happens all the time. And you better be ready for it. And then 10 to 15% of the time, they're going to promote from within. So you say, why would they spend that much time interviewing me if they're going to promote from within? Justification. They just want to say, hey, I looked around, interviewed everybody in town. Now, how do you deal with all of these problems and things you're going to run into? Yeah, get over it and get on with it. There is nothing you can do about it. All you can focus on and control is what you can do.